Hi everyone. So should you flush out your water heater or should you change your anode rod in your water heater? So which is more important? That's an easy one for me. Changing out your anode rod. That is going to do so much more for the life of your water heater than flushing it. Flushing it is, in my opinion, a waste of time. When you flush your water heater, you're only getting rid of a very small amount of the sediment on the bottom of the tank. As I showed in my last video, you've got your dip tube where the cold water enters the tank and it's entering through this at the top of your tank, okay? And it's going down to the bottom. So when you flush your water heater, you're just leaving the water turned on, it's coming through here, you're opening your drain at the bottom of the tank, and that water is coming down this dip tube and out the bottom and hitting the bottom of the tank. It's about this far off the bottom, and it's stirring up that little bit of sediment in that one spot on the bottom of your tank and then sending it out the drain. Kind of a waste of time, because I've changed lots of older water heaters and sometimes the drain is a bit plugged, but usually you can get it unplugged pretty quickly by just opening the drain and leaving the water turned on, and it'll flush itself through and then you drain the tank. I'll include a little clip in this video of a tank I cut in half and all that sediment on the bottom.
That's the bottom element right there. And then we got the top here. Cold water comes in this way and all the way down, and it fills into the bottom of the tank. And then here's the anode rod. You can see that it's been doing its job.
Now the anode rod is a different story. It's a sacrificial rod, just like a zinc on a boat that goes in salt water, okay? So the minerals in the water attack the anode rod instead of the inside of your tank. They corrode the anode rod instead of your tank. Or as on a boat, they would corrode away the zinc instead of the boat hull. So the anode rod is located on the top of your tank. It either has just a hole in the top here where the 1 1/16 inch head of the anode rod is located, or it'll have a cover like this. You take that off, and sometimes there's foam in there that you have to pick out with a screwdriver to get to the anode rod, okay? The anode rods are about 3 feet long, and they're made of aluminum or magnesium. They're there to protect the inside of your tank, okay? Now this tank is 8 years old. I pulled it out for a friend a few weeks ago, and we're gonna take this anode rod out and have a look at it, and I'm gonna show you why it's important to change your anode rod. This rod has never been changed. Okay, what I like to do is take a little bit of WD-40 or the like, whatever you prefer to use, and spray it down in there, around that. Let it sit for a while. If you can give it an hour, give it an hour. Now I've already had this one out, so I know what it looks like. This is just for video purposes. And it was hard to get out, okay? So they are in there. So you need to spray it. Unless you have a pneumatic socket that you can put on there. I just have the regular socket. So I like to use a snipe. This is just a piece of copper pipe, just for some extra leverage. Now before you do this, you want to turn the water off to the tank, okay? So there'll be a valve here at the cold, just turn that off. And you can drain a little bit of water out of the tank if you want, or just turn a faucet on to get rid of that pressure. If you don't drain any water out of the tank, you're gonna get a little bit of water coming up out of this hole where the anode rod was, okay? Not much, just have a rag there. So we got our 1 1/16 socket, okay? Counterclockwise, and we wanna use a snipe, and then we just wanna really push on that, and it will break loose. If not, you can take a hammer and bang on that and just do what you gotta do to get this loose, right? Okay, so I'm gonna pop that off. Spin that. Sometimes you might need a couple of flathead screwdrivers just to grab a hold of the head of that anode rod, okay? So I'm gonna lift up on that, get it to a point where I can grab it. Okay, and these are 3 feet long usually around there. Oh, look at that. It has been eaten away, and it's just a fine, look at that. Like I said, this should be 3 feet long. This has done its job. This tank lasted for 8 years. It might have lasted for 12 if the anode rod had been switched out, or even longer. So it's important. So then you would just take your new anode rod, put some Teflon tape, pipe dope around it, back in, tighten it up with your socket, turn your water back on, and you're good to go for another couple years. A much better use of your money. Change your anode rod. Don't bother flushing your tank. Unless you can flush your tank yourself and you don't mind doing it once a year, but to pay someone to come in and flush your tank, I'd rather pay someone to come in and change this out. If you have a limited space above your tank, then when you take this out, you can undo it and you can lift it up. Grab onto it with some vice grips preferably, unless you have a helper, you can get them to hold it with some pliers. Pull it up a bit, cut the top off, pull it up a little more, cut the top off. But usually when you are going to change an anode, they have been eaten away a lot, and you can take it up and bend it a little bit and pull it out slowly, okay? And they do sell anode rods that are in pieces, kind of like nunchucks, I guess you'd call them nunchucks. So you would take your piece, put it in, another one, put it in, and then you can move it in if you have limited space above, okay? But yeah, there's a perfect example of why you want to change your anode. All right, well, I'm going to do some more water heater videos, but thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.